Hello everyone, and welcome back to Retro Brick Reviews. That's right, it has been 6 months since my last upload, but rest assured, I am alive. For the moment. But anyway, over the past couple months, there have been a pretty good amount of leaks and rumors regarding the upcoming LEGO Harry Potter sets to be released in 2020. So today, let's just talk about them. And also, at the end of this video, I do plan to discuss the future of this channel and what content you can expect for the remainder of the year and onward after that. But for right now, let's begin by just talking about the first set we have for this summer wave, whenever it does end up coming out. That being set number 75966, the Room of Requirement. This will be a $20 set based on Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and it will include 3 minifigures. Those being Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Luna Lovegood. And of these 3, we should probably focus on Luna since she has actually been leaked. The Luna figure from this set has been leaked from the factory. There are pictures of it online. Let it be noted that I am not going to be showing any pictures of any leaked materials in this video because I don't want to begin my return to YouTube with a copyright strike. But everything I say as leaks, obviously you can look that up yourself. But in my opinion on the Luna figure, I like that we're keeping with the hairpiece from the CNMF because it looks good. She has a really cute new face where she has a smile on one side that definitely harkens back to the 2010 Luna figure. It looks pretty similar. And her alternate face is a pretty cute, surprised expression. But what's probably most interesting is that she has a specialized torso print, where it's a Ravenclaw jumper, but definitely messier than the one we have in the CMF. The tie especially is a fair bit messier. She has her butterbeer cork necklace, as well as the negative space printed around the sides of the torso to make her appear thinner. They do that for most female figures. And what's interesting about this is that it means that we will probably be getting unique torsos for every uniformed Hogwarts student this year, or at least all of the main characters, and that includes Harry and Hermione in this set. So, that's cool. As for face prints, I would definitely like to see new designs for Harry and Hermione as well, but chances are they'll just reuse the ones from last year, which are still perfectly acceptable, but don't fit perfectly. Especially Harry's, I think, could really do with an update, because it looks very, I don't know, teenagery, I guess, to me. But one more thing on Luna is that she will have the full-height minifigure legs, which presumably means that all of the figures based on Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood prints will have the full-height legs, which makes sense for Harry and Hermione, because at this point they are like 15 years old, and I feel so definitely by Half-Blood prints they should be full-height. Order of the Phoenix is kind of where it's a bit flip-floppy, especially since the CMF had Luna and Cho from their 5th years, and they had mid-legs, but I think that overall, full-height legs is the right choice to go with, even if it does make things a bit less interesting. However, it is a bit funny, because in Order of the Phoenix, Luna was in her 4th year, which we know from last year should definitely have mid-legs. That's just kind of a weird thing, but I guess to have consistency within the set, and since the average fan, like, if you just saw the movies, you probably wouldn't know that Luna's a year younger than the trio, so it makes sense. Anyway, those are the 3 figures we know we'll be getting, but we also might get the Death Eater dummy that they have in the Room of Requirement to use as a training dummy. Now, we have no evidence of this. I just think it's likely because, I don't know, I just feel as though it would make sense to have a training dummy to knock over, because the original version had a target, but it did also include the training dummy in the 2007 Hogwarts. Now, I don't think it'll be a full minifigure. It'll probably be brick-built, but I could see them doing just a print for the head to get the Order of the Phoenix-style Death Eater mask on there. Oh, and also one more thing before I forget. On Harry, His hairpiece for Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince will be the standard Mutt Williams hairpiece in black. Hermione, we have no idea what her hairstyle will be in these sets, but I kind of hope it'll be the one from the CMF, because I think that just works perfectly, but whatever it is, I'm sure it'll work well enough. Anyway, aside from figures, the set will also include a couple of creatures. I don't really know what exactly you would classify Patronuses as, but the set includes two. You get Luna's Rabbit Patronus and Hermione's Otter Patronus. The rabbit will most likely use the existing bunny mold that we've had for a couple of years, just in the transparent glitter blue. Hermione's otter could be a new piece. It most likely will be, but this summer in Friends, they're introducing a new sloth piece, and I could see them just recoloring that to be an otter. It wouldn't be perfect, but I think it would be close enough to where they could feasibly get away with it. Oh, and then the build is just going to be a 3-walled room with a fireplace on one of the walls. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but I think the minifigures alone pretty much sell this set, plus it just being a $20 Hogwarts expansion. It should be able to connect up to the other sets we have so far, and I hope that from the exterior it will be relatively nondescript. Maybe just, being a pretty basic wall with, a tower on one end, just, a little turret. Because then you could get multiples of the set and just use them to expand and extend your Hogwarts castle. Much like how, if you remember back to LEGO Lord of the Rings, there was the Uruk-hai army set that was a extended battle pack. It was a $30 set where you could get multiples and then just connect all of these nondescript castle extensions up to the Battle of Helm's Deep fortress set to make a really long wall of the fortress. Anyway, so that's this set. I'm definitely excited for the figures and Patronuses. The build, well, I'm sure it'll be good enough. Next set. So number 75967, Grawp in the Forbidden Forest. This is going to be a $30 set with an even more amazing minifigure selection, because we'll be getting Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, Dolores Umbridge, and 2 centaurs. Now, I'll start with the centaurs, because we have seen leaks of them, and they look pretty great. They, of course, have a brand new horse leg attachment, which is double molded, because the legs are in dark brown, but the tail is actually done in dark tan. The head and torso are done in dark tan as well, which I think is a good color choice. Not much to say on the torso and head. They have some relatively simple detailing, but the centaurs don't really need that much. The face has a bit of a scraggly beard on it, I suppose. More like 5 o'clock shadowy muzzle than anything else, I suppose. And, face paint. Now, seeing as how it does have face paint, I'm curious whether we would see 2 different face prints, perhaps one without face paint or with different face paint, but the face paint is really just a little bit of white on the forehead, so they could definitely get away with using the same head for both of them. And then the hairpiece is actually going to be Dumbledore's from the Great Hall, just in black, so nice recolor for that piece. For the other figures, Umbridge was wearing a different costume in the scene than we have in the Bricktober pack, so if I had to guess, she'll get a newly printed torso, probably just plain pink legs. I don't think another really detailed skirt is needed. I think that just pink legs would work fine. I mean, we're getting 2 centaurs. I feel as though the other figures, they can slack a little on, and, her face, I could see them reusing the Bricktober one, but I could also see them doing a new design so she could have a scared expression on one side. I can't really predict which it'll be. I would prefer the latter, but the former would also work well. Harry and Hermione are interesting because we have Harry, who, bit of a spoiler for later in the video, but his CMF figure will actually be him in the jacket he wore in this scene. So I'm not exactly sure how they'll do the Harry figure for this scene. My thought before we saw the CMF is that they could just reuse the Jurassic World gray jacket torso print that's been around for a fair few years. They've also used it in Lego City, and most recently on Peter Parker from Spider-Man Far From Home. But now that we have a new print for the CMF that is a dark gray jacket, I don't know if they would just reuse that design in the CMF and in this set, or if, because the CMF one is zipped up, so maybe this could be an open jacket. I don't know how they're going to do the torso. And then Hermione is also a weird situation, because here she's, if I remember correctly, she's wearing the same outfit, or a very similar one to the shirt she was wearing in the Hogwarts Express set from Prisoner of Azkaban. But they can't reuse that same torso print, because that one doesn't have negative space, and from what we've seen from last year, all Hermione figures from Prisoner of Azkaban on will have the negative space, so yeah, not entirely sure how those two are going to look. But anyway, enough of the figures. For the builds, we're going to be getting a brick-built Grawp in the same style as the Giant Man from Captain America Civil War, as well as Ares from Wonder Woman, the Giant Stone Warrior from Ninjago, etc. Where it's going to basically be a huge brick-built minifigure, which I am really excited for, because I think that style actually works really well with Grawp, where he is a very blocky kind of character. He actually almost has minifigure proportions, so excited to see how that turns out. Oh, and then we'll also get a tree. I imagine it'll be big enough for him to knock over, and potentially have a bit of terrain on the side for the centaurs to stand on. Yeah, that's all I've got for this set. Definitely excited for this one as well. Sounds like it might be one of the best small sets from LEGO Harry Potter so far, which is quite a feat since this theme has done really well with the smaller sets, but something tells me that this one will probably be better than the other $30 set, the Hungarian Horntail, because no offense to that, but that set has a fair amount of flaws. Next, Escape from Privet Drive. This will be a $70 set with set number 75968, and it will actually be based on Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So we're going back in time for a little bit, and this might sound weird since this year is giving us so many new sets based on Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince, two films that had very few sets before, in fact, one each, if I'm remembering correctly. But this might be the one that I'm most excited for, since first off, the figures. We're getting Harry, Ron, Dobby, but then we're getting Uncle Vernon, Aunt Petunia, and Dudley. Now, Harry will probably just be the same one from Whomping Willow from 2018, because, well, that outfit's the one he had in the 2002 Escape from Privet Drive set, so makes sense. Ron, I don't know, he could have a new torso, could not, I don't know. Dobby we've actually seen leaks of, and he is just the CMF figure, but with a much creepier smile. Yeah, that's lame. I mean, like, it is cool for people who miss out on the CMF version, but for people who have it, this is just a waste of a figure. Like, first off, just another smile. Why not give us, like, a sad Dobby? Not only would that actually probably work better for this scene, and just in general, to have him with a frown, but it would add variety. And, like, for the torso, again, it's just the CMF version. I mean, just, I don't know, just add some bandages on there or something. It wouldn't be hard, and it would work for, like, the end of the movie. Which, obviously, this is the beginning of the movie, but still, I feel so just adding some bandages onto the print would be a nice way to differentiate it. But alas, the figure's not bad, just entirely pointless. Uncle Vernon, Aunt Petunia, and Dudley, though, are three figures that I am extremely excited for, since Uncle Vernon we've only had once before back in 2002, and it was not very good, and Aunt Petunia and Dudley we have never had before, so very excited to get those three. I hope they turn out well, and I hope that they all get new face prints, because I think it would be an enormous letdown if they just used reused prints for these three. I mean, I can't even think of any prints that would work relatively well. So they pretty much have to do new prints, or else this set might be kind of a waste. And if they do use reused prints, this set can definitely be knocked off that pedestal I gave it a minute ago of the one I'm most excited for. Also, there was a rumor a while back that the set might include Fred and George instead of Ron, but I don't think that's too likely, as much as I wish it would be the case, since that would be amazing. Anyway, the main build will be number 4 Privet Drive, which I imagine will be a dollhouse-style build, sort of like every other building we've had so far in the new theme, where they're all open from the back, which I really like. Privet Drive will probably be no exception. I'm curious whether we'll get the garage, since I don't believe we're going to be getting the Dursleys' car in the set, but, I mean, they could still include it and just have it empty, but they could also take it off. It's hard to know, but the house itself will probably be a relatively simple exterior design, like what we see in the picture from the movie. And probably a bit less like the relatively strangely shaped old set from 2002, which, despite it not being accurate on the exterior and color or design, I have decided to put it here because the interior of this set will be pretty similar, where we'll have the kitchen, the cupboard under the stairs, and Harry's bedroom, which I think works well because we'll kind of have 2 areas on each floor, where on the bottom we'll have the kitchen as well as the cupboard under the stairs, and on the top floor we'll have Harry's bedroom and presumably the landing of the stairs, so we'll get kind of the hallway area, which definitely isn't the most interesting room, but I feel as though just as long as you have 2 sections on each floor, it'll feel complete enough. It is a bit funny that we are getting 2 of the 3 main areas in the house are dedicated to Harry, where we have his bedroom and his cupboard, but I mean, I feel as though those are the best choices to go with. Also, the set will apparently include the Flying Fort Anglia. Thought we got that 2 years ago, so I'm pretty interested to see how they've changed it up. My hope is that, instead of using a prefab car base like they did in 2018, this one will be built from the ground up, and therefore able to have 2 figures seated side by side. Because if you remember, the original, you could only fit 1 figure in there. I say original, I mean, in the 2018 figure version, you could just fit 1 figure centered and then a second behind him. Whereas the 2 previous versions, you could fit 2 figures side by side. Now, obviously, that was because you could just have them be sitting on tiles and not directly connected because they were sitting down. The new figures have to be standing, which limits how you can put them in there, because they have a much smaller surface area on the bottom, but again, if they have it brick built from the bottom up, they could definitely find a way to have 2 figures stand side by side, and if we keep the backwards dimensions of the car as well, then we could even have a 4-seater like it actually is in the movie, which is what I'm hoping for. 2 seats in the front, 2 seats in the back. That would be incredible. That's what I'm hoping for. Not getting my hopes up because it's not too likely, especially since we'll probably only be getting 2 figures to go in it in this set, but we can always hope. Oh, and also the set will probably include a little build for the Privet Drive sign, since that's the first thing we see in the entire Harry Potter film franchise, first shot of the first film. Also, this set, and probably a couple others, will include a brand new mold for Hedwig. A brand new owl mold in general, which is going to have spread wings, as well as a redesigned cuter face. That one also has been leaked more than a few times. It's been seen at this point from practically every angle there is, so it shouldn't be very hard at all to find images of that if you want to. I'm really excited. It looks really cute, looks fun. Okay. The next set, and the last main system scale set we're getting for the main wave this year, is set number 75969, Hogwarts Astronomy Tower. This will be a $100 set, and will include 8 probably figures. Harry, Ron, Hermione, Luna, Neville, Lavender, Draco, and Professor Slughorn. I say probably because, much like the past 2 Hogwarts sets, apparently this set may include more figures that just were not shown off at London Toy Fair, where most of this information is coming from. But actually, no, I mean Nuremberg Toy Fair. I'm smart. Nuremberg Toy Fair in Germany. Anyway, so 8 figures, but it could have more, which makes sense since both of the last Big Castle sets, when they were first shown off, they did not have their full minifigure complement, where when the Great Hall prototype was shown off at New York Toy Fair, it did not include Susan Bones, and when the clock tower was shown off behind closed doors at London Toy Fair, that's why I was thinking London Toy Fair, by the way, it did not include Cedric. So this set could include other figures, for example, Ginny, or maybe Snape. But for the moment, this is what we know. I imagine that the students might be in unique uniforms, as we see in the Room of Requirement set. However, we know that the Luna figure in this set will have her in her Slug Club Christmas party dress, and we can presume that it will be for this set and not for the upcoming Advent calendar, because the Advent calendar comes out in September. These sets come out in June in some places, or at least were intended to come out in June in Europe. Obviously, with the current state of affairs with COVID-19, the sets very well might be delayed. But anyway, so obviously the June sets are already well into production, so it makes sense that things from them would leak. So Luna will be in her Slug Club dress, meaning that Harry will probably be in his Yule Ball outfit, and I mean, not the Yule Ball, the Slug Club Christmas party outfit, blah. And I should note that we have not seen the whole of the Luna figure, just a zoomed-in image of the torso, which is rather nondescript, so I wouldn't recommend wasting my time searching for it if you haven't already seen it. But yeah, so that's exciting. Curious what other figures will be based on that scene. I think Neville is pretty likely to have him in like a waiter's garb. Also, Hermione, we could get her in another dress. And Slughorn could be based on that scene, albeit there wouldn't be much to change there from the Bricktober figure. Just slightly different torso printing. Probably his hat, I imagine. I feel as though that would be a good way to differentiate him. Have him in his hat this time instead of a hairpiece, and probably a new face print to go along with that. Anyway, for other figures, I imagine Draco will be in his black suit he wears for a lot of this movie and the next. Ron and Lavender might just be in uniforms. In fact, I think it's pretty likely that Lavender will be in her uniform. However, it is possible that Ron could alternatively be in his Quidditch Keeper garb. Anyway, but aside from the figures, the main build will obviously be the Hogwarts Astronomy Tower, the tallest tower at Hogwarts, and I feel as though the LEGO version will keep up that trend, being taller than the Grand Staircase Tower that we got in with the Great Hall. And I imagine that this build will probably have a smaller piece of more nondescript Hogwarts architecture attached to the side, partially for play and partially just to increase the area of the bottom of the set so it's harder to just completely topple over. And for the interior, we know we're getting Slughorn's office, the Ravenclaw common room, and the astronomy classroom. And I imagine that the astronomy classroom will span the top 2 floors, as, well, it spanned the top 2 floors in the movie, so it just makes sense. But yeah, so probably with a spiral staircase between those two, again, as is accurate to the film. And one more thing, we do know that we will be getting a greenhouse with the set. So first off, that could attach to the side instead of a piece of Hogwarts architecture. But anyway, so we're getting a greenhouse. Not super relevant to the Half-Blood Prince, but I suppose that Harry and Slughorn do meet up in a greenhouse during Harry's liquid luck journey, I guess. So, yeah, I guess it works. So, yeah, that's this set, and then the next set is set number 75979, Hedwig, and this will be a $40 set, and the main build will be a buildable Hedwig. Sort of like what we have here from 2018, which was a Target giveaway that my Target absolutely gypped me out of because I won, as in, like, if you don't remember how it was run, basically, they gave out Harry Potter tote bags, and one of them had a special, like just a star in it, with the idea being that whoever had that wins the thing. And I got that. I got the bag with the star, but they refused to give it to me. And at the end, the employee probably just took it home herself. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of my Target. This was like the third time they did this with Lego Harry Potter. But anyway, however, it could also be more in style to the Star Wars builds, like the Porg and Yoda, where it would probably be more smooth and not just built up above a bunch of plates. Anyway, so main build will be that Hedwig. She'll apparently be 25 centimeters tall, so a bit under a foot tall. And she will have outstretched wings, probably to go along with the new owl piece, which I imagine will be included, because with these statues, they normally do include the thing you're building it of, like with the Porg, they include a little Porg. With Yoda, they include an Attack of the Clones era Yoda minifigure, etc. However, for the figure, we will also be getting a Harry minifigure, which will be based off of this scene from the Philosopher's Stone, where he has Hedwig on his arm, which is a pretty iconic shot from the film. And the figure will be similar in the torso print to Hermione from the Advent calendar, except both of the scarf tails, I guess, the ends, will be around the back, and it'll have blue gloves, like in the movie, which is a nice touch. Other than that, hairpiece, face will just be the same as the 2018 figure, but that works perfectly fine. So that's that set. And next up, moving away from sets for a bit, we have a book upcoming, Magical Treasury, a visual guide to the Wizarding World. This will essentially just be the new LEGO Harry Potter visual dictionary, albeit probably less interesting than it should be, because from what we've seen of the preview images for the book on Amazon, this will only be covering the new theme from 2018 on, which is really disappointing, because one of the things I really liked about the old visual dictionary and character encyclopedia for LEGO Harry Potter was how they actually went all the way back to 2001, and I remember when I first got that book, that was actually the first time I really learned about the old sets, because I actually, believe it or not, I didn't know about the fact that there had been Harry Potter sets prior to 2010 before I got that book in 2010, so actually, might have been 2011, but I think 2010. Anyway, so bit unfortunate that this will only be recent, and I will definitely not be as interested in flipping through it as I would have been otherwise, but I'm still going to get it because the exclusive figure. It is one Tom Marvolo Riddle. And he looks pretty good. I mean, I probably would have gone with black hair, since that hairpiece does exist in black, and just would have been more accurate and thematically appropriate. But I think the face is pretty accurate. Not perfect. I like the cheekbones. I like the mouth. I think it might be just the eyebrows, combined with a little line between the eyes that's throwing it off a little, but it's not a bad likeness. I hope he gets an alternate face that's just more calm, though, a bit less cocky, because this main face gives off a very cocky air. I would probably prefer to show him just a bit more calm. You know, that very calm, psychotic demeanor that Tom Riddle has. But torso and legs look really good. I like how they are pretty much monochrome. I don't know why, I just like the look of that. I like the old-timey Hogwarts uniform, the very simple yet elegant leg printing. The tie, it's a bit weird that he doesn't have the Slytherin crest on his robes, but I guess they removed that to make him look a bit more evil, and, I mean, it worked. And then his wand is weird because it's a black wand, even though in the movie he just used Harry's wand, which is dark brown in LEGO. And if they wanted to recreate his wand like his wand, Tom Riddle's wand, Voldemort's wand, they've been representing that as white. So I don't know why they went with a black wand for this figure. Definitely doesn't ruin it or anything, obviously, just a bit of a weird thing. Also, judging by the book, this will be another case of the wand being pre-snapped, just like it was with the Bricktober pack, which is still a really weird thing, because, like, in the factory, do they just have an assembly line of people who just spend their entire day snapping the little sprues, the wands off the sprues? Because that's a depressing thought. Anyway, enough about this book. Like the figure. Definitely going to pick it up. CMF. Somehow, LEGO accidentally leaked the entire bag for the new CMF. The blind bag. You know, the bag the figures come in. You know what I'm talking about. Which shows off 9 of the 16 figures we're getting this year. So, yeah, it is down to 16. They have removed the Fantastic Beasts representation from the series, probably because the Fantastic Beasts sets didn't sell all too well, combined with the fact that there's no film coming out this year for Fantastic Beasts, since it's been delayed to 2021. So yeah, Harry Potter figures only. Won't be much cheaper than the original series, though, because from the DC series on, and this includes LEGO Harry Potter, CMF figures are $5 each, which is absolutely insane, and very rarely worth it. In fact, there are several figures just on this bag that I don't know if I would want to pay $5 for them if it wasn't LEGO Harry Potter and I wasn't collecting the whole line. So yeah, don't like the price. Collecting the whole series will be $80, and that's if you don't get any duplicates. But enough about price, let's talk about the figures themselves. First one is a prime example of probably not worth $5. It's Harry Potter, based on Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. As I mentioned prior, he'll just have his gray jacket that he wore in Order of the Phoenix and the beginning of Half-Blood Prince, where it'll be dark gray he's zipped up with the shirt underneath. He has a new face print that looks pretty similar to the CMF Series 1 face print, but a bit different. Hairpiece is just Mutt Williams, which is kind of lame. Probably just non-printed dark blue legs. I mean, he's not going to have mid-legs since it's Half-Blood print, but yeah, so hopefully there's some leg printing, but I can't think of what it would be. And he'll get his wand, and his main accessory, though, will be the Advanced Potion-Making book from the Half-Blood Prince, which is, well, the Half-Blood Prince's book, and that's a really great accessory. The design looks great. Again, this is leaked, so you can look up the pictures online later, or even as I'm saying this, so you can just follow along with the images. I really like that book, but I don't know if that book is worth $5 to me. But I do really like that book. Anyway, next figure is going to be Neville Longbottom in Gryffindor robes from The Prisoner of Azkaban. Yeah, this is another one that I'm just not sure of. I hate to start with the two that I'm most negative about because, okay, I really like the hairpiece. It's the Spooky Boy hairpiece, the one that they used for Lupin in the Hogwarts Express. It's that hairpiece, but in dark brown, which I believe is a new color. That's good. The face is pretty similar to the CMF Series 1 Neville, but obviously with more adult-like proportions, despite this figure literally being 1 year older in universe. Yes, that looks good. The torso and legs, though, seem to be either very similar, if not entirely identical to Hermione's robes from Series 1, and I don't like that. That's not good. They should be unique in their own right. His accessory, though, will be the Monster Book of Monsters, which will actually use a brand new piece for the cover, so it can have, like, the bulging eyes and the fangs. That's really cool, but, again, is a good hairpiece, an alright face print, and a really great accessory worth $5? Maybe. Next figure, though, and I'm glad that for the rest of this segment I can be a lot more positive. Lion Hat Luna from the Half-Blood Prince. I really like what we've seen of this figure. For one, she has an adorable face. For another, I mean, it's Luna Lovegood. Luna's my favorite Harry Potter character, and can I just say that I am so glad that LEGO is... The designers seem to really love her as well, because we're getting 3 new Luna figures this year, in addition to one from 2018. She has her own unique hairpiece. All of her different versions have unique faces, or well, at least this figure has a new face. The CMF Series 1 had a unique face, and then for the new sets, she has another unique face. It's not a reprint. She has specialized torso prints. I mean, it's just really good. I'm glad that the designers really like Luna. But anyway, so her torso we haven't seen much of, but it's going to be the outfit from the scene. The lion hat is pretty good. The printing, I think, fits pretty well within the LEGO style without being too simplistic. does look a bit weird from the image. We see how her hair doesn't carry down onto the front of her torso, as we see from the image taken from the film on screen now, but I imagine that's just because they want it to fit with her actual hairpiece, where her hair only comes down the back, so I imagine that she'll have the hair coming down the back of the lion hat. If she doesn't have any hair, though, then it will be a bit weird looking, but excited for her. No ideas what her accessory will be, but yeah. Next figure is definitely my favorite, and potentially my favorite figure of 2020 so far. It's Albus Dumbledore, based on Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone / Chamber of Secrets. It's a new design for Richard Harris Dumbledore, and this figure just does everything right. He has a brand new hat-hair combo, double molded, where he has the hat that he's wearing in this picture, like the nice wizard hat, which has red and black coloring, so I believe it's actually a triple molded hairpiece, because the hat is double molded, and you have the hair underneath that. We have the black brim with gold stars printed on, as well as the red mane section of the hat. And then the hair itself is white, so that's great, because I did not like how the Great Hall version only had gray hair. White's much more accurate. And it comes out more to the sides as well, so it just gives the hair and beard a much wider look. He has the Gandalf beard in white. Yeah, we haven't seen his torso or legs at all, but I'm just really excited, because just even from that, it's probably my favorite figure of this year. It just looks fantastic. And his accessory is another great one. It's a newly molded piece for Fawkes the Phoenix, and I personally was fine with the one we got in the Great Hall, but I know that a lot of you have been thirsting for a new Fawkes mold, and we're getting it, and it looks great. Okay, next figure is Moaning Myrtle. She has a brand new hairpiece for her pigtails coming down in front. She has a crying face, like the tattered robes, and interestingly, she will be done in a blue scale design, where like the robes are in sand blue, her hairpiece is dark blue, her face is like the light medium blue, I can't think of what it's called. And so this contradicts how in the Great Hall, Nearly Headless Nick was done in grayscale. So, interesting change up there. However, it makes sense since most of Myrtle's scenes were lit in a blue color tone, so it works. Yeah, I think it works. Anyway, next figure is Griphook from Deathly Hallows Part 2. So we'll have this shirt he was wearing. He has arm printing. New goblin design, which unlike the original, which used a molded head, now it will be just a standard minifigure head, but with new hair-ear combo. And, yeah, it is a bit weird to see the goblin without the nose, but other than that, I think the face design is good, and that new hair-ear piece is fantastic. The accessory we can see on the bag is a key. However, he has to come with another accessory, because that's so lame. Maybe he could have the Sword of Gryffindor, or the Bag of Clankers. Not too sure, but, yeah. This guy looks good. Just a high-quality looking figure. Next one is Professor Sprout, which is another one that a lot of people have really wanted, and I'm glad to be getting her, since she goes well with the greenhouse we got in the Astronomy Tower, or will be getting, I suppose. She's a brand new hat, hair, earmuff combo piece, where she has the hat and earmuffs in dark tan, and the very curly hair in light gray. She has a nice face design. The robes, or well, the coat would probably be a more accurate term, seems to be done in the nougat color, which is good. And her accessory will be a matured mandrake, which will be like the one Neville had, but instead of using the new mandrake piece that was introduced specifically for him, the mandrake will instead be printed on a cylinder to make it thicker. I like that. I think this one looks better. Next up, we have Bellatrix, and this is one a lot of people were predicting. It's her in her Azkaban attire. She'll have the existing hairpiece, a brand new face print, which was a really good call on LEGO's part, because, spoiler alert, the Bellatrix figure we'll be getting in sets this year does not get a new face print. Anyway, and her accessory will just be her prisoner number. Again, this is a figure that a fair amount of people were expecting to get, but it still works really well, even if it was an expected one. Last figure we know about is Kingsley Shacklebolt. He'll have a brand new hat piece, nice printing for the robes, and he will actually have the graduation gown fabric piece in blue to go over the shoulders and give his robes more of a unique design. Oh, and his accessory will be a dark brown broom, which is a new color for the broomstick piece. So that's cool. And that does leave 7 figures open, so here are my quick predictions. Rita Skeeter with her quick quotes quill. I mean, she's a relatively unique-looking character, very colorful and doesn't really fit into any sets. So I think that she's pretty likely, since she was also a pretty important character in the books, even if her film role was relatively shunned. Yeah, that would be a good figure to get. Madame Pomfrey is another one that I think is very likely. She would have to have a new hood mold? Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a hood. But, existing prints for everything else. I mean, not existing prints, but existing molds. Like, the dress piece, obviously, don't know why I say existing molds. Her accessory could be a bottle of Skelegro, which could just be printed. Or for a brick build, they could, on top of the bottle piece, have a stamp piece with the baby head on top, printed to look like a minifigure skull. That's just my idea. Next figure is kind of unlikely, but Ferenz, and I'm putting him just because that centaur body mold looks expensive. I mean, from the Grawp set, we're getting centaurs, and that piece looks expensive, and they used CMF Series 1 to offset some of the mold costs for the sets, like the Golden Snitch and the Niffler were in the CMF, so that LEGO didn't have to spend the money on them that they would have cost to put in the sets and just have new molds in the sets. It went on the CMF budget. I could see them doing the same thing here. Also, Ferenz from the Philosopher's Stone looks very different from the Centaurs in Order of the Phoenix, so I think it could work well. Aunt Marge would be another one I would really want. She would go great with Privet Drive, and her accessory could be her Bulldog Ripper. These last 3 are pretty unlikely, but it's Harry, Ron, and Hermione from when they undergo the Slytherin disguises in Chamber of Secrets using Polyjuice Potion. Yeah, I really just want these because I want Slytherin robes to go along with the Gryffindor robes. I mean, ideally I would like robes from all 4 houses, but I'm not going to be that optimistic. But yeah, these are pretty unlikely. Aside from, I think Cat Hermione is definitely a valid possibility, since that is by far the most interesting Hermione variant you could do. Although that really goes for all of these. But the reason I think this could happen is because in Series 1, we had the main Harry, Ron, and Hermione figures based on Prisoner of Azkaban that had the special robes. But then we had a secondary Harry figure based on Philosopher's Stone that was in the cloak. And they put that one on the bag because that went along with the sets being based on Philosopher's Stone. And it could work the same way here, where we could be getting the main set of Harry, Ron, and Hermione based on Chamber of Secrets, but with the secondary, less interesting one based on the Half-Blood Prince that they put on the bag to go along with the fact that the sets this time are Order of the Phoenix Half-Blood Prince. That's just my theory, and probably isn't going to be the case. Chances are we'll just get like a bland Hermione and Ron, probably in Quidditch fatigues. Yeah, Ron does at least have that variant, but Hermione's in the same boat as Harry, where I just have absolutely no ideas of what they could do if it's not this. But yeah, but I guess if it's not this, then whatever designs of Ron and Hermione they do, and my third prediction in that case, without a second Harry, would just be Draco in robes, because I want Slytherin robes, and I think that they could do a Draco from Prisoner of Azkaban, or Goblet of Fire. Maybe have a ferret as an accessory. Anyway, enough about speculation. Let's move on to slightly more founded speculation, where we'll be getting a direct-to-consumer Diagon Alley set this year, with a rumored retail price of $400. Yeah, that's a pretty expensive one. But obviously, this will be our second direct-to-consumer Diagon Alley set, and I, for one, am pretty excited. I mean, on one hand, I would have liked if they would have done it as a series of separated buildings, like just have Weasley's Wizard Wheezes as one set, Gringotts as one set, to make it, you know, probably more expensive in the long run, but cheaper in the short term, so I don't have to spend $400 a couple months after the plague. But, you know, I am definitely still excited for this set. I imagine it'll be sort of a sized-up version of the micro-scale version that we have on the left, where we have the different buildings and the street attached. And I feel as though how they could look could be sort of sized down modular buildings, where I imagine like a 24 by 24 base plate for each building, and we'll probably get like 4 or 5. I imagine, where I think that Gringotts is very likely, probably the most likely of all of them, along with Ollivanders. I personally would really like to get the Leaky Cauldron, since it's the entrance to Diagon Alley, and really Harry's first exposure to the wizarding world. So I would like to get the Leaky Cauldron with the opening up wall, and then also Flourish and Blots and quality Quidditch supplies are pretty likely. Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, unfortunately, I think is much less so, because all those buildings I just mentioned fit very well with a Philosopher's Stone Chamber of Secrets setting, and obviously that didn't crop. Weasley's Wizard Wheezes didn't crop up until Half-Blood Prince, by which point the rest of the alley was desolate and dark, and they wouldn't do that. So probably not getting that. But for figures, we'll obviously get the Golden Trio. I imagine we'll get Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, probably Ginny, then just for the specific buildings. For the Leaky Cauldron, we'll probably get Tom the Innkeeper, and maybe Minister Fudge. For Ollivanders, we'll obviously get Ollivander. For quality Quidditch supplies, I could see us getting Dean Thomas, I believe, was the kid who was peering through the window, so yeah, I believe so. It's been a while since I've seen the movies, but I believe Dean peered through the window and was like, wow, a Nimbus 2000. That was the direct quote, trust me. So yeah, we could get him. For Flourish and Blots, probably Lockhart, which is a figure so many people want, and I do as well, so it would be great to get him, as well as probably Lucius and Draco, and then some Gringotts Goblins, because I imagine that the reason Griphook from Deathly Hallows is in the CMF is that they could get out that Goblin hairpiece to use it in this set, because the 2011 set didn't have the liberty of having a new Goblin piece, so they just had to use the horrifying old one, which was, as I just stated, horrifying. Anyway, next set will be 75980, the Burrow. This will be a $100 set, and we do not know whether it is going to be a retail exclusive or a release that would come out a month or two after the main sets, because we've had both in the past. I personally think it's more likely to be a later release, just because I don't see LEGO releasing 2 $100 sets at the same time, but crazier things have happened. Anyway, so I'm just showing a picture of the 2010 Burrow set on the right. I imagine this one will be sized up. A relatively 24 by 24 base. Obviously, it doesn't have to use the whole thing, like the one on the left kind of has a T shape, I guess is a good way to put it. So it could be like that, and I also say 24 by 24, I mean for the main house. Like, you could have a pig patch extension out the side like you have on that one. Anyway, so I imagine it will be 4 stories tall to, I mean, it's $100, so it has to be bigger than the old one. Since the old one was $60, I think that if they increase the size overall, then just 4 stories would make sense, and, I mean, just making it a larger build in terms of width and depth would just increase the part count as well. So we could easily fit like a 1,000-ish piece count if you do that. Garden out front. I could see the marshes being a side build like the old one, or just built on the sides of the house. Hard to say. Very messy. Like, the old one had some loose planks and some scaffolding. This one would take it to a whole new level. Like, it would be pretty precarious looking. And then for the interior, the bottom could be the kitchen and the living room with the flue fireplace. I think both have to be there because you need the kitchen. I feel as though you need the kitchen, but also for the scene from Half-Blood Prince where you have, like, Harry and Lupin and Tonks in the sitting room. Plus, you need the sitting room for the flue fireplace. And if they do this as, like, a 20-stud-wide build, you could easily have, like, a 12-stud-wide kitchen and an 8-stud-wide sitting room, which I think would work pretty well. Second floor, we could get Fred and George's workshop and Percy's study. This is a similar case where you could probably have Fred and George's workshop take up, like, 12 studs, and Percy, I mean, he's basically just in a little closet. Have it be 4 studs wide, just a desk and nothing else. It's kind of what he deserves. And then on the third floor, Ron's room, top floor, Ginny's room. That's how they did it in the old set, even if it's not entirely accurate to the Burrow in the in-universe. But it worked last time, and I think it would work this time. Yeah, that's just what I think they could do anyway. For all I know, it could be the same amount of floors as last time. Or heck, less. Anything's possible. But anyway, so for figures, we know of two. And those are going to be Bellatrix Lestrange and Fenrir Greyback. And we have seen leaks of these two, and Greyback looks good. I'll start with the positives. His hair is black instead of dark brown now. His main face is pretty much identical to the face you see here, where he has the sort of evil, gritting teeth smile. His alternate face is much more aggressive, though, which I like a lot more than the old one's dead stare. The torso is also very similar to the old one, just with much less sunburn. And the legs will be the General Hux, Severus Snape, Cornelius Fudge, Cedric Diggory, Nick Fury, etc. legs that we've had for the past several years, but slightly updated to remove the sort of secondary undergarment you had printed under the main coat flaps on the original, where like in the middle of the legs you had a gray line. That's gone now. So yeah, good figure there. Bellatrix has her old hairpiece. She has a new torso print that's definitely an improvement on the old one, but then she has no dress print, and her face is Mantis's from Guardians of the Galaxy, and it does not look good at all. Also weird, because that face would work actually perfectly for her sister Narcissa, but I guess not. So that's just kind of a weird disappointment. Not a bit, especially seeing as how Bellatrix is pretty much the secondary villain of the whole series, I'd say. You could argue that it's Lucius, but I think that overall, especially for the latter half of the films, she's a much more important villain. And then for the other figures, I think we'll probably get Harry. Ginny is also pretty much a shoo-in since you need her for this scene, and just in general, for the Half-Blood Prince, you need Ginny. Like, it's weird that up to this point we haven't had Ginny, but there is no way they can do the Half-Blood Prince and not have Ginny in there somewhere. Ron's pretty likely as well, since he's a main character and it is his house, but they could always leave him out like the old one in favor of someone else. Arthur and Molly are pretty much guaranteed, and then we have Lupin and Tonks. I think we'll get them just based on this scene, including them, and also just to add some more variety to the selection. But yeah, so I think it is very likely that this will be our selection. Plus, you can't have just 6 or 7 figures. You need to have more, and they bring it up to 8/9, depending on whether you include Ron. And I think that that's a pretty great selection for a $100 Burrow. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, the other set we'll be getting in August, or as a retail exclusive, is set number 75978. Maybe, because some people have attributed this set number to the direct-to-consumer. I don't know about that one. I think it's more likely that this is going to be a set based on the Ministry battle, because, like, it's just weird, because that's a pretty big battle scene, and pretty important, pretty action-packed, pretty good-looking scene, one that you'd want to have a playset of, yet not in the wave. Also be good for minifigures, so I think there are 2 ways they could do this. Presuming that, number 1, this set is not Diagon Alley, and number 2, that it will be the Ministry battle. So a couple guesses there, but I think it's pretty likely. So $20 is a way to do it. The main build would be the statue, the fountain, and the side build would be the prophecy shelf. You could just have a play feature to, like, blow up the fountain and knock off the statues. Figures could be a new Michael Gambon Dumbledore, probably new torso print with the cursed hand. Pretty much everything else, like, you could just have unprinted sloped legs, the same one, sand blue ones from the Crimes of Grindelwald set. Same face print we've had for a couple years. Same beard and hat from the CMF. Yeah. Voldemort could straight up just be reused from the Rise of Voldemort. Like, the robes are a bit different, but they could just reuse the same figure. I don't think anyone would care that his robes have a V-neck when in Order of the Phoenix they did not have a V-neck. It doesn't matter. And then we could get the statue of the wizard and also probably the centaur. I feel as though those 2 would probably be the only ones that they would do as figures. Like the house elf and goblin would probably be just brick built. But yeah, alternatively, they could also do this as a $40 to $50 set, where you would have the fountain in the middle, and then on the left you would have the veil room with the cloth veil and some platforms for Death Eaters, and on the right you could have the prophecy room with some shelves. For figures, you could have Harry, who would just be the same one from the Grawp set. You could have Sirius, who I really want an Order of the Phoenix Sirius, so I would love to get that with the moody hair and dark brown. Bellatrix could be the same disappointing figure from the Burrow, as well as Lucius, who would presumably be the same design from Diagon Alley. So, yeah, not very many exclusive figures in this one, but I'd be willing to have a bunch of figures in other sets if it just means getting a lot of figures. Especially since, again, a lot of these figures would be exclusive to more expensive sets. But anyway, so yeah, that's just my possibility. Again, this set might not exist, or it might be something else entirely, but I think this is a good way, pretty likely thing that it could be, and how it could work out. Nextly, we have the Advent Calendar. And this will be another $40 one, and I think there are two ways that it could happen. Where they, much like how last year it was based on the previous year's sets, where 2019 it was based on the Philosopher's Stone, I feel as though this year it'll be based on either Prisoner of Azkaban or Goblet of Fire. If they do a Prisoner of Azkaban-based calendar, I believe it will have a Hogsmeade setting, where we will get 7 figures. It feels like no matter what it is, we'll get 7 figures like last year, since that just is a good number to get. And just here's who I think. I'm not plotting out anything besides figures, because those are really what drives me to the set. So I think we'd get Harry with a new torso to match the scene, as well as I feel as though if they did this, the trio would all get specialized sort of headgear pieces to match the scene and just be more wintery. So we would have the Lloyd hood piece from the Ninjago movie, Ron with a new torso and a beanie, Hermione with a new torso and the Parker hair from Hidden Side, so she can have a beanie over pigtails. Then Ginny, who would have her face print from the Burrow and Hermione's torso from the first calendar. Then Madame Rosmerta from the Three Broomsticks, who would be our exclusive figure. She would have a new torso print, and her face could just be some reuse. Hagrid from his hut and the Great Hall, and Fudge taken from the Great Hall. Ugh. Fudge taken from Hagrid's hut. Sorry, I was thinking of the Great Hall because I just said it with Hagrid. And they both come in the hut, and, yeah, you get the point. So anyway, those are the 7 figures I think would be likely for Prisoner of Azkaban, but in general, I think that what's much more likely, not only because it would be more Christmassy, but it would also be much more diverse, and also require less new pieces, would be from the Goblet of Fire, a Yule Ball calendar. Plus it would go with the Clock Tower from last year. So lots of pluses. If they did this, I think the figure selection would entail Harry, just taken straight from the Clock Tower, no changes needed. Hermione, with her printed brick dress from the Clock Tower, changed out for the new dress piece. Because, I mean, as we've seen this year, height scaling is not necessarily the most consistent thing ever, because Luna from 4th year now has full-size legs. So I could see them doing the same thing here, because I know a lot of people weren't happy with how Hermione turned out last year. So I could see them doing a dress piece, sort of an alternate choice. Like how in last year's calendar, we got Professor McGonagall with a single-sided face, because in the Great Hall, she had a double-sided face, but you could see it through the back of her hat. In that same Hermione figure, Parvati Patil could have a new torso print, as well as that same light pink dress piece, just with no printing. Her face probably wouldn't be new, and I think that they would most likely use MJ's from Spider-Man Far From Home, because I think it works pretty well. Then Neville, who could just use his hairpiece and torso from however they end up doing him in the Astronomy Tower. I mean, hairpiece and face. And then the torso could be Cedric's from the Clock Tower, since he and Cedric were pretty much the same outfit. Then Ginny could have a new torso print, as well as a printed dress piece. So she would be the really special figure, because new torso, new dress, because her dress was just really unique. It's definitely my favorite out of the whole Yule Ball, so I would really like to get that. Then Hagrid could just be the Yule Ball version from the Beauxbatons Carriage set, and Filch could be the same from the Whomping Willow, since that's just the outfit he wore to the ball, with a new design for Mrs. Norris. And yeah, I am including him just because I want Mrs. Norris in the new design, because we haven't had Mrs. Norris since 2010, and I just want a new Mrs. Norris. I think it would be really great to get. But yeah, they probably wouldn't include Filch in an advent calendar, but I can always dream, because I also just really like his figure that we have for the new line. It's probably one of my favorites thus far. Anyway, before we wrap up this video, we have just 2 more sets to get to, those being 2 sets of Harry Potter brickheads. The first will be set number 40412, which will be Hagrid and Buckbeak. Now, we know nothing about these sets aside from the names and set numbers, but I imagine Hagrid will have to be a bigger figure than the rest, because, like, it would be weird if Harry was 4 studs wide and Hagrid was 4 studs wide, so I think Hagrid could be a 5 stud wide build. His beard, I think, will be done in black, because with the brickhead style, LEGO sometimes goes against how the minifigure coloration works, and instead just goes for what's most iconic, and I feel so Hagrid with a black beard would probably be more just noticeable from a distance than with dark brown hair. Plus, just way more pieces exist in black than dark brown to get a detailed beard, like with the curls and tangles and stuff. So it would work well. I think you would get 1 new print just for the inner coat. And I think his belt buckle, though, would be brick built, specifically using the bucket handle piece. That's just an idea I had that I think would work really fantastically. And his accessory would be an umbrella, which would be brick-built to match the scaling of the wands that the other brickheads have. As for Buckbeak, I think he'd be a standard 4-wide base for the head, but obviously with a unique body. His wings would be folded and not movable, and he would have the same yellow eyes from Hedwig. I can't really think of any new prints Buckbeak would need, so I don't think he would use any at all. As for the other set, it would be set number 40419, Hogwarts Students, which will likely be a customizable figure, like the wedding brickheads. Down below you can just see the groom one, which I chose just because it's, it's closer in design to how a Hogwarts student looks like as opposed to a wedding dress. And I chose this one as opposed to Go Brick Me as well, because that one was built from the ground up. This one always has the specific base of the tuxedo with the top hat, and I think that that's how this would work, where you would get probably just 1 base figure. It could be 2, but I think 1 is most likely. And they would automatically be in robes, where all you could switch out is the head details with, like, the hairstyle, as well as the color of the scarf for the house, and, like, the collar and the house details, basically. I think you would get multiple hair colors, but with not the most stylish pieces. Like, I imagine that these would be like the wedding brickheads, where they would be like a $20 set with a bunch of different options. So, probably like 250 to 300 pieces. But because you want to not... But in order to keep it at that lower price, the options wouldn't be the most detailed stuff in the world. So you'll probably get, like, black hair, orange hair, blonde hair, but you would get just not a ton of pieces. So the styles would be pretty simple and kind of plain, I imagine. You would get the sort of plates you would need to build up the scarves in all 4 colors, and different wand colors like dark brown, standard brown, black, dark tan. But I feel as though for details that would need to be printed, like the house crest on the robes, or the ends of the scarf, or the collar, I think that those would just use stickers. Like, I would prefer prints, but I just don't think it's likely that they would shell out somewhere from 3 to 9 new prints, depending on how much of that they decide to include, just for this one set. So just getting stickers is most likely, in my opinion. And that's just all the LEGO Harry Potter news that we currently know of for 2020. Now, of these, again, I'm probably most excited for Privet Drive, as well as the Burrow and, of course, Diagon Alley, but I'm excited to get all of these. I will most likely get my hands on all of these unless pictures come out and they turn out to just be horrible. But I'm okay. So, the future of this channel, since I think that is another important thing to discuss. I'm not dead. I do have more analysis videos planned, as well as more reviews. Definitely starting with the 2 Harry Potter sets I have not yet reviewed, those being the Beauxbaton's Carriage and the Rise of Voldemort from last year. I suppose there is also the calendar, but I haven't actually gotten my hands on last year's advent calendar yet. But when I do, I'm sure I will make a video on it as well. And as for other sets, I have lots of stuff to review. I have a bunch of new Star Wars sets, I have new Marvel sets, Hidden Side as well. That's a great new theme. And I do also have some old sets to review, some more retro sets. But, yeah, so I'm definitely not gone, so definitely more reviews, more discussions, more analyses, as well as some other different types of content that I'm definitely also excited to bring to the channel. Not gonna say what those are, because there are several different ideas I have, and it's doubtful that every single one of them will come to fruition within the span of 2020, so I don't want to get anyone's hopes up for something that won't come to fruition for a good while, but rest assured, this year's gonna be an interesting one. For my channel, I mean, so far it's already been pretty interesting. I mean, God, this year's been like several decades long, I swear. But anyway, so, yeah. But as for now, this is Retro Brick Reviews, signing off.